appreciate you all being here this morning. Obviously, both the Police Commissioner, the Police Minister and myself are here to respond to the events in Sydney last night and then take whatever questions that you have. Just want to let you know, Yaz and I have got a party room meeting in half an hour, so we're time crunched on a busy parliamentary day, but we'll take as many questions as we can. First thing I want to say is that New South Wales Police were put in an impossible position last night because the protesters refused a reasonable request to stage their protest in Hyde Park and have a lawful, prominent protest down College Street. As a result of that intransigence, there was a conflict in Sydney streets, but New South Wales Police's proportionate response was designed to keep the public safe in incredibly difficult circumstances. What you saw last night was New South Wales Police being confronted multiple times by a section of that crowd intent on disturbing and disrupting police lines. Now, what we can say today that we couldn't say yesterday is that we had concurrently 7,000 mourners down at the International Convention Centre who were mourning the horrible events of the 14th of December with the President of Israel. New South Wales Police had to keep both protesters and mourners separate so that, as disturbing as the scenes were last night on the news, they weren't even worse as a result of thousands of people clashing together on the streets of Sydney. I understand that there's been criticisms of New South Wales Police. I just want to make it clear they were caught in an impossible situation. They did their job by keeping those groups separate, and we want to thank them for their service to the people of New South Wales. It is a difficult, combustible situation, but if the protest organisers had elected to have their rally in Hyde Park as opposed to Town Hall, where it was a narrow area where there wasn't an opportunity to march, then most of this could have been avoided, we believe. At the end of the day, we were hopeful for some kind of calm and responsibility. The truth of the matter is we didn't get that from many of the protesters last night. We're going to have to settle for security. That is the responsibility of the New South Wales government and the police. It's what most people expect in these circumstances, and that's exactly what the public can expect in the future. Pass over to Mal.
Thanks, Premier. What happened last night on the streets outside Town Hall was simply unacceptable. For over a week now, since I extended the public assembly restriction declaration, I've made it very clear that we wanted a very calm, a very peaceful and a responsible public assembly. To that end, we've had ongoing negotiations with the coordinator, the operator of the Palestine Action Group, with a view to having a protest conducted from Hyde Park through to Belmore Park. That would have given the opportunity for the group to march, exercise their free will, but to do it in a safe way. What's important is there are concurrent incidents happening at the moment. We have the visit of a head of state, and as the Police Commissioner, I have a responsibility to keep him safe. We have a community that's still in mourning and want to see their president. They were also within the town last night. And then we had a large protest which took part at Town Hall. Our police showed remarkable restraint. During the first part of the speeches, it was peaceful. We were working continuously with the organiser. However, speakers were inciting the crowd to march. We had made it clear throughout the week that a march through the CBD was not acceptable. It was unauthorised by the PARD, and the Major Events Incident Declaration only reinforced that. Yesterday, the organisers of PAG took that matter to the Supreme Court and their appeal was dismissed. It was reaffirmed that the police would not allow that to happen. As recent as the event starting last night, the event coordinator confirmed there would not be a march. However, during that protest, that changed. What we saw was a large number of people come out to George Street at the end of the protest, or certainly at the end of the speeches, and march on police. Not once, but twice. The police did what they needed to do, which was to hold the line and then form and move the protesters back with a view to dispersing them. That was designed to keep the community safe. Having an angry and violent mob marching on police is not a situation that I want our officers in. I have been on and on about we want calm in our community at the moment. We wanted a respectful and responsible protest. That's not what we got last night. Our police took action to disperse that protest. Happy to take questions after, but I'll go to the Minister.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. I won't take up too much time, I know you've got questions. But look, I just want to remind people that police are community members, just like all of us. And they went to our city last night to do their job. And they did a good job under incredibly difficult circumstances. That volatile crowd, I've been told by police, is one that they have not seen so aggressive before. However, they were able to disperse the crowd after some period of time and keep our community safe. I want to thank them for coming back all the time. They do a great job. The expectation of our police by the people of New South Wales is to keep our community safe, and that is what they do.
Thank you. We're all happy to take questions. Look, I mean, first of all, there is established processes for investigation relating to police conduct, but just want to urge everybody to not look at a 10-second clip without the full context of the circumstances relating to those clashes yesterday evening. First of all, New South Wales Police tried everything they possibly could to avoid conflict last night, including making operational and open Hyde Park North down College Street for a prominent march in the city. That had been rejected for 7 days. Secondly, some of the protesters refused both the Supreme Court's decision, police direction, government legislation, and decided to defy police by breaching police lines. Now, I want to make it clear, one of the things that you didn't see last night, because it didn't happen, was protesters breaching police lines, and as Mal said, choosing your own adventure through the streets of Sydney. That would have been a disaster for our community when you consider the competing crowds that New South Wales Police and the government had to deal with. Both 7,000 mourners down in the ICC and 7,000 protesters at Town Hall.
Was it proportionate for police to start dragging away questioners engaged as we saw in one of the video?
Yeah, look, I want to make it clear, there is no suggestion under any circumstances that police would have wanted to cause offence to the people praying or get in the way of people lawfully exercising their religion. The truth of the matter is New South Wales Police have had a strong and cooperative relationship with Sydney's Islamic Arabic community going back decades, but context is important here, and the circumstances facing New South Wales Police was incredibly difficult. It was in effect in the middle of a riot. Now, police have to make critical early decisions in those circumstances. It wasn't designed to pick on or target a particular community. It's not representative of the long-standing relationship, and I think fair-minded people would look at the context of that interaction before condemning New South Wales Police.
What was the specific context of that incident, though? What caused them to be dragged away?
So the context of that incident was long after the violent, aggressive crowd had started to be moved on police. When I say you need to take it into context, there is another angle where you can see the police line moving forward and moving those protesters out. At that stage, we were dispersing the crowd for community safety. As the Premier said, there was no intent to cause offence. The police were coming from a different angle to what you are seeing on the video at the moment. I have spoken to senior community leaders from the Muslim community, and I'll continue to do so. We have a respectful relationship. But what you saw last night was chaos in part. The police were restoring order. It was the actions of the protesters that led police to have to go forward and disperse the crowd.
Premier, how much responsibility do you take for putting police in part of the operation?
Look, I think the government's decisions in relation to the protest declaration, the major events declaration, and New South Wales Police making it clear that protest marches would not take place was the right decision. It's a difficult one. It's not straightforward. I understand it's contested. I understand it's contested even inside the Labor Party, but it's the right decision in the circumstances. The truth is that we had Australia's worst terrorism event not 6 months ago or 2 years ago, but 6 weeks ago. And in that set of circumstances where you've got 7,000 mourners with the President of Israel alongside 7,000 protesters, it was absolutely essential that New South Wales Police were able to keep the two groups separate and apart. That's what would happen in any city around the world when you had a major protest as well as another designation. I think the police made the right decisions, and there was no other option for New South Wales Police or the government. I think a fair-minded person would also fall back on the fact that for the last week we were attempting to get the protest organisers to have a lawful march in Hyde Park heading down College Street, and it was flatly refused.